Hello students, let us continue with the 10th chapter organs of the government. We already have gone through the first organ, and that is the legislature. We also try to understand that how the laws are amended, how the laws are framed, and these laws are known as bills. Any proposal is known as a bill. We can again divide the bill into ordinary bill or a money bill. All this information we received from the first organ of the government, and that is the legislature. Now we go to the second organ, and that is executive. At central level, we can include president, prime minister, and his council of ministers. At state level, we can include the governor, the chief minister, and his council of ministers, and the administrative system, where again we can divide the governance at local level, dividing into urban and rural level. So we will be highlighting these points in this part of the chapter. So let us begin with the second organ of the government, which is executive. The most efficient, effective, and central organ of the government is the executive. At central level, or in the union executive, we mean by central government political executive comprising administration of the prime minister and cabinet of ministers, president, vice president, bureaucrats, political and administrative executive officers, and employees. All these are in direct contact of the people. The people are influenced by the work of this organ of the government, that is executive. It is the executive which is implementing all the laws which are framed by the legislature. So they are interrelated. There is coordination. The administrative executive is carrying out the work of implementing the policies, the programs, and the planning which is done by the government, keeping in mind or view the aspirations or the feelings and expectations of the people. Please try to underline this statement. The political executive is changing every 5 years or till the power is given to them, whereas the administrative executive is formed by permanently appointed bureaucrats, hence it is permanent, the IS and the IPS officers. However, the retirement age of the administrative bureaucrats is different in different states. Before their retirement, if they misbehave or they show a lack of efficiency to work, they can be removed from their post after following a prescribed inquiry procedure. The political executives are the members which belong to any political party. Their main qualification is to get elected by the people based on their individual honesty to the party, public choice, and public opinion. Whereas, see, this is the difference. Administrative executive is requiring proper or prescribed educational qualifications, quality, experience, as well as they have to pass a competitive exam to be appointed permanently. UPSC is conducting the IS and the IPS exams. So any person who qualifies this exam can become an administrative executive part. The service of the administrative officers is known as the civil service. At the center, the political executive is comprising of president, vice president, prime minister, and cabinet ministers as per the constitution. Let us try to understand the role of president. Please underline, president is the constitutional head of India, and so all the executive powers of the federal government is given to the president by the constitution. All the administration of the central government or complete country is carried out in the name of the president. He is the head of the nation and also the first citizen of the Republic of India. Please underline. Now, what qualification should be required for a candidate to become a president? Well, they are as follows. Please underline. A presidential candidate should be a citizen of India. He should be 35 years of age or more. He should not be a salaried employee of the government, or he should not hold any office of profit. He should not be a member of any of the houses, neither of the Lok Sabha nor of the Rajya Sabha, or even of any state legislative assembly. The presidential election is indirectly carried out by the members of both the houses of the parliament as well as the members elected in the state legislative assembly. So the collage. We elect a president for a term of 5 years, and he can contest the election after the completion of his term also. When the president is in power, neither any criminal case can be framed against him nor an order to arrest should be issued against him. Functions and powers. It is the president who appoints the leader of the party to become the prime minister, the party which has gained the majority. Then, with the consultation of the prime minister, he is appointing the other ministers of the cabinet. It is president who administers the oath ceremony of the prime minister and the cabinet ministers and distributes the portfolios to the ministers. As long as the cabinet enjoys the support of the majority members of Lok Sabha, the president cannot dissolve the cabinet. The President of India is also the head of the defense forces, all the three wings, Army, Navy, Air Force of the country. The President has the power to declare war, please underline, to cease the war, it means stop the war, or conclude treaties with other countries. It is the President who appoints the judges of the Supreme Court and High Court, governors of the state, Attorney General, Comptroller and Auditor General. It is the President who appoints the head of the defense forces. It is the President who appoints the chairman of the Union Public Service Commission and also the ambassadors to various nations. So, vast authority and authorized executive as well as administrative powers are vested or remains with the President. The President can also grant pardon or reduce the sentence of any convicted person, or he can also postpone its implementation, or he can also change the nature of the punishment. It is the President who summons the sessions of both the houses of parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and prorogues them. It is the President who can dissolve the Lok Sabha. If the President is satisfied that the security of India or any part of its territory is threatened by a war or external aggression or armed rebellion, he can declare also emergency, a state of emergency, either for the whole of India or for any part. The declaration of emergency cannot be challenged in court. Based on report of the governor, the president can declare even constitutional emergency in that state also. And president can establish president rule by dissolving the state cabinet ministry. In case of financial emergency, the president also can reduce salaries of all government officials, including the judges of the Supreme Court and of the High Court. Though the president is enjoying the vast executive administrative powers, and though we can say that all the administration can be considered in the hand of the president only and done in his name only, it is in reality it is the prime minister and the council of ministers who are enjoying these powers. So in short we can say that president is just like a rubber stamp. He can be used anywhere by the ruling party. The vice president. In the absence of the president, the vice president is performing the functions of the president. The vice presidential elections is carried out by the members of both the houses of parliament. Again, the term period is of 5 years. Also, underline the vice president is the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The president is submitting a resignation to the vice president. Prime Minister. Prime Minister is the real head of the central government. Please underline. The Prime Minister is the head of the party who is achieving a majority in the general elections. He is appointed formally by the President as the Prime Minister. The ministers to the cabinet are also appointed as per the council of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister distributes the portfolios. Any minister either to be taken or left or to be continued in the cabinet is decided by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is presiding over the meetings of the cabinet and also looks after the functioning of the various departments of the cabinet. He takes pivotal decisions, important decisions. The Prime Minister is the head of the Planning Commission. He is also known as now as Policy Commission. Please underline. In cabinet there are 3 levels of ministers: the cabinet ministers, the state ministers, and the deputy ministers. The Prime Minister should be a member of any one house, either of Lok Sabha or of Rajya Sabha. The ministers are individually responsible for their ministries or departments. The Council of Ministers is collectively responsible and accountable to the Lok Sabha. If Lok Sabha is rejecting the policy of the government on any particular issue, it is not only the responsible government or the minister for that subject, but the whole Council of Ministers must accept the responsibility and should resign. So this was about the central or the union executive. Now we come to the state executive. Similar to president, we have the governor. The governor of any state is appointed by the President of India on the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. The President can appoint a person as the governor for more than one state also. Any citizen of India, now the qualifications, who is 35 years of age or above may be appointed as the governor. The term of the governor again is of 5 years. However, he can hold office during the pleasure of the president and can be removed from his office even before the expiry of his term, or he can also be transferred to another state as the governor. So it is the president who is holding the power to continue or to stop the governor in his office. The governor is the constitutional head and formal head of the state government. All executive powers of the state government are vested in him or remain with him. He appoints the chief minister who has a clear majority. He also appoints other members of the council of the ministers on the advice of the chief minister. He also appoints the advocate general, the chairman, the members of the state public service commission. The governor is consulted by the President of India to appoint the judges of the High Court. The governor also enjoys some legislative powers similar to President. He summons, calls upon, and prorogues the sessions meetings of the state legislature. He can dissolve the state assembly before the expiry of its full term. He can also issue ordinances. A bill which is passed by the state legislature or the Vidhan Sabha can become a law only after the governor signs it. The position of the governor in the state is similar to that of the president of the center. Please underline. His powers are actually exercised by the Council of Ministers headed by the Chief Minister, but the governor can exercise or enjoy certain powers independently also. Normally, underline, the governor of a state is ex officio chancellor of all the universities of the state. A governor can belong to any political party, but once he assumes this post as a governor, then he has to perform his duties firmly as well as impartially. Page number 80. The Chief Minister and Council of Ministers. Already we saw that the Chief Minister is appointed by the governor because in the elections of the state government, whichever party gets majority, that party is invited to form the government. The governor appoints the leader of the majority party as the chief minister. If no single party gets the majority, the leader of the combination of parties also constituting the majority or the leader of the largest party having the support of the majority is appointed as the chief minister. Other members of the Council of Ministers are also appointed by the governor on the advice of the chief minister, though the entire administration of the state is carried out in the name of the governor, but in reality the chief minister and the council of ministers are enjoying maximum powers. In Gujarat, the office of the chief minister and the cabinet minister is situated in the new secretariat Swarnim Sankul, Gandhinagar. The governor administers the oath of secrecy to the chief minister and the council of ministers orally, and thereafter they sign the same. In the state cabinet ministry, there are four types of ministers. Underline: cabinet ministers, state level ministers, deputy level ministers, and parliamentary secretary. The chief minister distributes the portfolios to the cabinet ministers. He also presents the issues of policy making, transparent administration, questions of the people, the central government. During the time of calamity, he provides basic amenities, love, and care to the people. He provides a strong leadership to the state legislature. And so we can say the chief minister is the torchbearer and pathfinder of the government policy regarding the growth and development of the state. Administrative system or the IS and the IPS officers. The political executive frames various policies in different fields. The detailed and efficient implementation of these policies is done by the administrative executive. It is the administrative executive who advises and guides the state executive in the matters of policies. It also provides required information as well as data and figures. However, the political executive is not bound to follow the advice given by the administrative executive. No matter how important or welfare oriented are the policies and the laws, but if they are not effectively implemented by the administrative executive, then the purpose is mad or of no use. We cannot achieve the result or the objective. Thus, underline, the administrative system is providing the necessary backup to the executive in the formulation and implementation of policies. Expert and professionally efficient and experienced public servants in the different fields like foreign relations, defense, security forces, international trade and commerce, nuclear energy, energy production, distribution, banking, insurance, foreign exchange, all these are the backbone of the government. A collector is appointed as an administrative head at district level and his office is known as Jilla Seva Sadan. Please underline. Their expertise, knowledge, administrative insight, broad experience, predictions, administrative efficiency is helping them to carry out the administration of the district effectively. Please underline, from the organs of the government, the state executive is acting as the brain behind the welfare of the people, whereas the administrative executive is like the limbs. And so, an amicable or friend relation between the political executive and the administrative executive is a pre-required condition for smooth governance of the state. The power and influence of the government is becoming more centered in the bureaucracy. Nepotism, sagavad, corruption, dishonesty, inefficiency, misconduct, escapism are the evils of bureaucracy. And so, to control such evil, Lokpal or Lokayukt is needed. To stop the corruption, Gujarat state government has started an entire separate department by the name of Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB, and its toll number also is given to us. People can contact the number to file their complaints. Political stability is expected from the administrative system because there is a government comprising of different political parties. It is the administrative system helps to excel the development of the government by implementing various developmental schemes and programs effectively and efficiently. Governance at local level. It is extremely difficult to carry out the governance of the entire nation from a single place, as already we know. So we have to divide the power. That's why the power is decentralized. And what is the objective underlined? To timely solve various problems, needs, expectations, and aspirations of the feelings of the people. By this decentralization of the power, the administration can be carried out easily as well as efficiently. At local level, the Institute of Local Self-Governance have come out or emerged. When the administration of village, town or city is carried out by the representative of the people elected by the local in the local institution, then such organizations are known as institutes of local self-governance. For administrative efficiency of the geographical regions, the responsibility and the functions of the government are divided to the local organizations. So, please underline, municipality, municipal corporation are the institutes of the local self-government of the urban areas. And for villages, we have Gram Panchayat, Taluka Panchayat and District Panchayat. Institutions of local self-governance are giving the training which is available for election, voting, duties, responsibilities, administration and ruling and even opposing parties. It also provides an opportunity of self-development because all the policies are implemented at the local level first. It is providing a chance to improve the lacunas at the upper levels too. That means problems, shortcomings. Therefore, underline, local self-rule organizations are known as the training schools and laboratory of constitutional improvement in a democracy. For this only, we implemented Panchayati Raj, which came into existence in 1992, and also urban institution of local self-government. We have a three-tier structure of the Panchayati Raj. Institutions at local self-governance at rural level, village level, underline Gram Panchayat, Taluka Panchayat and District Panchayat. It is an administrative structure. These organizations are mutually joined from top to bottom at all the levels of Panchayati Raj in order that the local development tasks, their schemes and welfare oriented programs are carried out efficiently. These organizations are provided with required funds also and means also, because from here only the development and progressive work should start. There is a chief of the district panchayat and various chairmen of various committees of the district panchayat, whereas the administrative head is the district development officer DDO, and the main office of the district panchayat is situated at the district headquarters. Similarly, the leader of the elected wing of the taluka panchayat is called the president, and the head of the administrative wing is known as TDO, Taluka Development Officer. At the lower level, Sarpanch is the representative elected by the people, and the administrative head is the Talati cum minister, and he handles the administration of the panchayat. The village, please underline, in which the election and the Sarpanch are unanimously elected without election procedure are declared as Samras village and also honored by a prize. We can understand this by this table, mind well, how the powers are divided. A Sarpanch enjoys the similar power to the Prime Minister and Chief Minister, and Talatikam Mantri or Minister and TDO and DDO enjoy the same power like the President, and so the functioning goes smoothly, mind well. Now we come to the Urban Institute of Governance. As per the 74th Constitutional Amendment, the urban areas were provided with the Urban Institute of Self-Governance as per the population of that particular area. So we start with the smallest level, and that is municipality or municipal borough. At the second level there is municipal corporation, and at third level there is Mahanagar or mega city nigam. In all the three wings of the Urban Institute of Self-Governance, a mayor is elected from the majority wing. Also, there are chairmen of various committees and corporators as per various wards. Ward-wise reservation for women and reserved caste also is maintained. Various committees carry out different responsibilities in different fields in a decentralized manner. Underline city planning, land reforms, roads, bridges, flyovers, bridge construction, water management, sewage management, civil development, environmental facility, fire department service, education, health, culture and entertainment, cityscape development, development of morgue where the dead bodies are kept, crematorium, smashan, graveyard, kabristan, removal of the slum, that is Jhupadpatti, oral development, etc., are carried out by the Urban Institute of Self-Governance. All these are managed by the funds collected from the people under the Public Private Partnership PPP, as well as the taxes collected from the people and the government grants. The administrative head of the municipal corporation is known as municipal commissioner. Under him, there are zonal heads who have technical and administrative knowledge and various officers. When a cordial relation is established between the elected wing and the administrative wing, then many works can be carried out relating to the welfare of the people. So we became familiar with the two organs of the government, that is the legislature and the executive. The third organ is the judiciary. We have an entire chapter only of judiciary, so we will be going in detail in this chapter, but let us see how in short we can get the knowledge of this third organ. The Constitution of India has accepted the ideals that all the citizens should get social, economic, and political justice, and thereby a just and equitable social order can be established. Now, if any person is breaking any law, then he should be punished or he should be fined by the judiciary. So, it is the judiciary which checks whether the laws are in accordance with the constitutional provision, and if the law is not consistent with the constitution, it declares the law unconstitutional and void. If federal system powers and functions are divided among the unit states and centers, it is the function of the judicial system to see that both the central and the state government are carrying out their work without interfering with each other's work. If any dispute arises between the center and the unit state, then it is solved by the Supreme Court. The Indian judiciary is a continuous and a linear organization. At the top, at the central level, we have the Supreme Court at the apex level. At the middle level, we have high courts at the state level. And at the bottom level, we have trial courts or the lower courts or subordinate courts, which include civil courts, criminal courts, and various subordinate courts. Students, I hope that you might have understood this chapter very clearly, and so please try to complete the workbook, and if any doubt arises, you just go through the points which I have already underlined, and still if you have doubt, you can try to ask me by asking in this channel Mindwell. Thank you.